my name is Marissa, and I'm going to do a tutorial today. I'm going to show you how to make these very pretty earrings. Now, I'm just going to set this one right here. Now, they look difficult, but they're not. They're easy. And if you can follow along with me, you'll be able to make this. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to encase our little ChatOn. Okay, so this is an 8mm ChatOn, and I'm just using the crystal. And I'm going to start by using I have a size 12 needle, and I have on my needle about 2.5 pieces of thread, 2.5 feet of thread, and I'm using the Dragon Thread in blue, the size 6. And I'm using the size 6 because I am going to be going through my Delicas quite a few times, and I don't want to have any problem going through them, so that's why I'm using the size 12 needle and the size 6 thread. And I'm using blue so that you can see it, so that you can see my thread better. So the first thing we're going to do is pick up 22 Delicas on our needle. Well, we're going to thread it. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and then 1, 2. So I should have 22 Delicas, and I just want to make sure that I do. And I just 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, and I lost count. Okay, so I have 22 Delicas on my thread, and if you want, you could have added a stop bead on the end of your thread. I didn't, but you can do that. You can also tie a knot after you bring your two ends together, but I didn't. I just went through a couple of Delicas here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pick up, and if you've seen my tutorial for my peacock feather earrings, this bezel is the same thing we did with the ChatOn here for our peacock feather earrings tutorial. So it's the same bezel. So, but I am going to show you how to do it again. So I'm coming out of a Delica. I'm going to pick up a 15-0. Coming out of this Delica, I'm going to go through it, and I'm going to go through my next Delica. So that puts a 15-0 above my Delica, and I'm coming out of my next one, and I'm going to put a 15-0 by circling around that same Delica I'm coming out of, going through it and going through the next one to get me ready to add my next size 15 seed bead. And since I didn't add a stop bead, I'm just holding onto my tail thread and I'm just tightening it as I go. And the first few beads, with the first few, it's still going to be pretty loose because well, it's the beginning of my project, but it'll get easier for me. And again, if you add a stop bead, it might be a little bit easier for you. I don't mind this. I just keep pulling on my tail thread and my working thread, and it tightens up everything so it stays, it still stays looking nice. So I am coming out of this Delica, and I'm going to pick up a 15-0, and I'm going to circle around, go through that same one I'm coming out of, and I'm going to go through my next Delica. So that will put me in place to add my next 15-0 seed bead. And I'm just tightening everything. And I don't want my Delicas overly tight. I just want them to where there's no thread showing, because I don't want my Delicas to look messy, because the neater your Delicas look, the better your bezel will look. And also the easier it will be to work with. Okay, so I'm coming out of my Delica here. I'm going to pick up a 15-0 and I'm going to circle around and go through that Delica, and I'm going to also go through the one next to it, and I'm going to pull. Okay, so that put my 15-0 here, and keep doing that. Go all the way around, adding 15-0s to all of your Delicas. Okay, so I finished adding my first round of 15-0s, and this is what I have, and if you're following along, you should have something like this. And again, we have a 15-0 on top of each of our Delicas. Okay, so now I'm coming out of a Delica. I'm going to hop on to the 15-0 that's on top of the Delica I'm coming out of, and I'm just going to start going through all of my 15-0s because we need to connect them. And as we're connecting them, kind of like push them to the center of your project. This will be easier to do when you go through more of them. Okay, so again, just go through all of your Delicas. We need to connect, I'm sorry, not your Delicas, your 15-0s. Connect them all. And then push them toward the center. If you can't, that's fine. They will go to the center anyway once you connect them all. Okay, so I'm almost halfway, and then I'm just going to continue going through all of my 15-0s, and this is why I used the size 6 beading thread, so that I could just go through these beads without any trouble, and I'm not having any trouble at all. This is a really great thread for when you're having to go through tiny beads more than once. Okay. And then just kind of fix your piece a little if it like gets like all wonky. I mean, the bezel is still going to work regardless of how wonky it looks at this point. It will fix. Okay, so I went through all of my beads, and this is what I have. Okay, so now I'm just going to, I can go through them one more time because this is such a great thread. So I'm going to go ahead and go through all of my 15-0s once again, and see, I'm going through them and I'm not having any trouble at all. So I'm just going to continue going through all of these beads, and well, I'm almost done. Oops, okay. Well, I'm going to continue going through all of these beads, and then after I do that, I'm going to go back up and sew through one of my Delicas, and then I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to start adding 15-0s once again to all of my Delicas, and then those I'm also going to connect. But before we finish connecting those second round of Delicas, we are going to add our ChatOn. So I will meet you back when I start adding that second round of 15-0s. So as like I said, once you finished connecting that first round of 15-0s, they will gather at the center or inside your project. And then after you do that, you have to sew on to another, well, not sew on, but you have to hop on to a Delica and then start adding another round of 15-0s on the outside of the Delicas again. So this is what I have now, and I am almost done. adding this round of 15-0s, and then, and it's the same thing. You're just going through, I'm going through the one I'm coming out of, and then I'm going through the next one, and then I'm going to put in my next 15-0 here, circling around the one I'm coming out of, and then also going in through the next one. And then once you finish doing this, once you finish adding this round of 15-0s, we are going to connect all of these again, but before we close off the circle of 15-0 seed beads, we are going to add our little ChatOn. Okay, so I just finished adding all my 15-0s. Now I'm just going to start going through my 15-0s again. Okay. And then also, you can kind of help them to the center. And I'm going to do these next. And see, they're coming to the center. And then, I'm not quite halfway, almost there. And then I'm just going through my 15-0s. You might have a hard time seeing what I'm doing, but I'm just going through my 15-0s. Okay, so I'm kind of in the center, and I'm just going to put my little ChatOn, and I will, oop, almost dropped it. Okay, I will have to hold it in place until I'm done. Okay, so coming out, now I have my ChatOn under my thumb, and I'm continuing to go through my 15-0s. Okay. Holding in my ChatOn, going through my 15-0s, and I'm going to do the same thing that I did earlier. Once I go through them, I'm going to go through them again to reinforce. Whoops. And since this thread is so easy to use, I will not have any trouble going through them. So that's a big help. Okay, so all right, I will get my thumb out of the way in a minute. All right, so this is what I have. Okay, and I've already put my ChatOn in there, obviously. I've closed up my circle of 15-0s, and I'm just going to go through them again. I'm going to do that off camera, and then I will meet you back. Go ahead and do the same thing. Okay, I already reinforced, and I think I reinforced it twice. And again, no trouble going through them. Once you finish reinforcing, go back and step out to one of your Delicas. So you should be coming out on one of your Delicas. It doesn't matter which one. So what we're going to do now is add a Delica on top of each Delica. Well, not on each one, every other Delica. So you should end up with 11 Delicas, okay? So I'm coming out of a Delica. I'm going to pick up a Delica. I'm going to circle around the one I'm coming out of to go back through it. Then I'm going to go through another one and then another one. So I'm going through a total of 3 Delicas. It includes the one I'm already coming out of. Well, yeah, the one I'm coming out of, the one next to it, and then another one. So just kind of fix your Delica if it doesn't sit right. Just kind of fix it. And so that put my Delica here on top. Now I'm going to pick up another one. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to circle around the one I'm coming out of. And then I'm going to go through the one next to it and then the one next to that one. So my needle right now is going through 3 Delicas. Can you see that? 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to pull. And that put my second Delica in place. So you see how I have one, I'm skipping one, and then another one here. We're going to do that all the way around, and you will end up with 11 Delicas sticking out. Okay, So I am going to also add thread, and once I finish this step, I'm going to add some thread and then I will meet you back. Okay, this is what I have. I finished adding all of my Delica beads, and again, you should end up with 11 sticking out. And once you have all your Delicas in place, and I'm just going to, I did add thread, so now I'm just going to sew through a few more so that I can hop on to one of those Delicas that I added, so I could be coming out of one of those. So you need to be coming out of one of the new Delicas that you added. You have to step up. Okay, so from here, it's going to be an easy step. We're going to add our GemDuos, and we're going to add one in between each of our Delicas, okay? Make sure all of your GemDuos are facing up. So you're going to go through it like this, and then you're going to just add it here in between all of your Delicas. Okay, and another one. And you do want to check the holes in advance to make sure none of them are clogged. And okay, so there's my second one and my third one. So this is an easy step. Go ahead and add all of your GemDuo beads, and then I will meet you back. Okay, so I already added all of my GemDuos in between my Delica beads. The next thing we're going to do, and it's already looking pretty, I think. The next thing we're going to do is after you've added your last GemDuo and you're coming out of, you need to be coming out of a GemDuo. Again, the same hole we've been using. Coming out of a GemDuo, we're going to add we're going to add 15 seed beads once again in between each of our GemDuos. Okay, so we're only going to be going through the GemDuos, adding a 15 in between each one. Again, we're going through the same hole we've been using. So picking up the 15, going through my next GemDuo, okay, picking up another 15, and only going through my next GemDuo. So this is another easy step, nothing to it. So just finish adding all of your 15s in between the GemDuos, and I will meet you back. Okay, I've already finished adding all of my 15s in between my GemDuos, and now my piece feels a lot better. Before, you may have noticed that your GemDuos were kind of loose, and now your piece feels much firm. Okay, so after you add your last 15 and you're coming out of a GemDuo, step up and hop to the second hole of your GemDuo. So from there, now what we're going to do in between each GemDuo, we're going to, what we're going to pick up now, it's going to be a 15, have your fire polish. We're going to be using a fire polish. So a 15, a fire polish, and I forgot, oops, some 11s. I forgot to take them out. Taking them out now. You can't see them, but I have, okay, on my needle, coming out of a GemDuo, this second hole here, a 15, a fire polish, and then I'm a 4mm fire polish, and then a 11. I'm going to let all that drop. I'm going to skip my 11 and sew back down my fire polish bead only. And I'm just going to pull, so I don't have any thread showing. So this is what you should have. And now we're going to add another 15, and then we're going to connect to our next GemDuo. Okay? And I'll move my hand out in the way. I'll move my hand out of the way in a minute so you can see how it looks. So this is how it looks once you've added that. You're coming out of this GemDuo hole here, added a 15-0, a 4mm fire polish, and 11-0. Then you skip your 11-0, sew back down your fire polish, add a 15-0, go through your next GemDuo. Now when you're coming out of your GemDuo, we're going to pick up two 15-0s, a Delica, and two 15-0s. And we're going to circle around and go through this GemDuo again. Okay? All right. So after I pull, I'll show you what I have. We just added this, and then we went into our GemDuo. When we come out of our GemDuo, we add two 15-0s, a Delica, two 15-0s, circle back, go through our GemDuo again. Now from here, we are going to pick up a 15-0, a 4mm again, and the 11-0, and we're going to do all that again. I'm going to go back down my fire polish, holding on and pulling, and then I'm going to add a 15-0. And I'm going to go through the GemDuo after the one I'm working on. Can you see what I'm doing? Yes. Coming out of this GemDuo, on goes two 15-0s, a Delica, two 15-0s. Coming out of the GemDuo, I'm going to circle around, go through it, and that'll put these beads on top of that GemDuo like that. Okay, so continue adding these beads all the way around, and then I will show you what to do after that. So I've already added all of the beads in between my GemDuos and on top of my GemDuos like this, and we have a little bit of a funky mess going on. That's okay, it's gonna come together. So I ended adding, I'll show you where I'm coming out of. I'm coming out of this Delica because I added my last 4mm grouping, and then I added the 15-0, sewed through this GemDuo, and then I added my two 15-0s, my Delica and my two 15-0s, and then I circled around. Now what you need to do is go back up those two 15-0s and come out of your Delica. From here, we're going to add everything together with three 15-0s. So this is a very easy step. You're just going to connect everything with three 15-0s. So I'm coming out of this Delica. I'm going to go through this 11-0 here. And I'm just turning it. And then from there, I'm going to grab three more 15-0s again. And I'm going to sew down to my next Delica in line. From there, I'm going to pick up three more 15-0s again. And I'm going to sew through the next 11-0. So that's what we're doing. We're connecting our 11-0s on top of our fire polish beads with our Delicas here that are on top of our GemDuos. So I'm doing that again. I picked up three 15-0s and I'm connecting. So just do that all the way around, adding your three 15-0s, and I will meet you back. Okay, so I finished adding my 15-0s, and I'm coming out of where I started, which was here at this little Delica, and I told you it would come together. So looks cute, huh? All right, so now I'm coming out of this Delica. We're gonna go ahead and add our earring hook wire to it. So I'm coming out of this Delica, and this is how I'm doing mine. I'm just going to sew up these 3 15-0s that are next to it. And now I'm going to, and I did pull tight, but I don't want to get it all like weirdly shaped. So I'm just pulling tight enough. So I'm going to pick up a 4mm fire polish, an 11-0, a 4mm fire polish, and I'm going to go through these. I'm circling around, and I'm going through these here, and I'm going through that Delica again that I'm coming out of, and I am going to sew up these 3 15-0s again. And then I'm going to go through through my first 4mm fire polish bead, and through my, well, I may as well just show you. I'm going through this first fire polish and through the 11-0, and now I am pulling tight because I want to make sure everything is nice and snug. And I'm just going to do, if you have a wire guard, you can add your wire guard. I don't know what I did with mine, so I'm just going to use six of my 15-0s. Okay, so I'm going to pick up 1 2 3 15-0s, my earring wire, and then 3 more 15-0s, and then I'm going to go through this 11-0 seed bead again. And if you're using a wire guard, you can go ahead and reinforce that too. And if you are reinforcing your wire guard, I would just reinforce it one time. So with a total of two threads in through it. Okay, so I'm reinforcing this, and then I'm going to go through my 11-0 again, and then I'm going to go through my fire polish, pulling everything tight, my fire polish, and then I'm just going to go through these seed beads one more time, and then I'm going to go through these 15-0s here too. Excuse the noise, I have some company. Okay, so I finished my earrings, and this is what I have, and you should have something similar. And a while ago, when I came out of these beads up here, I can't find my needle. Anyway, when I came out of these beads up here, and then I just sewed down this fire polish, and then I went that way to these little 3 15-0s here, and then through the Delica and out these 15-0s, and then I just came down that way and I reinforced. I went through all of my outer beads, and what I did was I made some knots, and I made some knots after the 15-0s before the 11-0s, and I just took my knots into the 11-0s, and then I continued to sew down the 15-0s again on the edge, down the Delica, and then down the 15-0s. Made another knot before this 11-0 and then pulled the knot into it. And then I didn't make knots after each one. I made about 4, I guess. And then I continued to bring my thread all down the edge. And then when I got here to this last 11-0 here, I just went down this fire polish, and then I just burned my thread. So that's all I did. That's how I finished them. Again, all I did was reinforce all of my beads on the edges, and I made a couple of knots. So this is what you should have. You should have something like this, something similar. And again, you don't have to add these fire polish at the top. You could do something else. you can attach your ear wire to just one of your 11/0 seed beads here at the point. You can do that, but I like how this looks because it gives it a little teardrop shape, and I like the teardrop shape. I think that's one of my favorite, if not my favorite earring shape. So anyway, this is what I have. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you very much for watching.